All right, it's late February. We're recording this on a leap day, which comes around once every 4 years. So not quite March, but basically March. It's Brad Evans, now of the gamingjuice.com, for the bracket big board. Muhammad native now, Champaign guy, Illinois guy. And Brad, it's great to catch up with you because I know it's March. It's that time of year. So how are you, man?
Oh, man, full throttle right now. I am extraordinarily busy. I haven't had a glass of tequila, which I call the love juice. It seems like in quite some time because I've just been, head on down and fingers on the keyboard, writing and typing articles that are coming to mind every single day. I was telling you right before the show, like I'm in the shower, I'm scrubbing, what little hair I have. I have none. Hair is optional on the podcast today with Werner and
That's
I.
correct. Yeah.
And I'll just have like this stroke of brilliance. I'm like, oh, I got an idea for a column, and jump out of the shower, put my skivvies on, and bang out 500 words. That's where I'm at right now. So the creative juices are flowing. I'm loving it. March is nearly here, and it's the best month on the calendar, bar none, every year.
Well, Brad, now people can find you in one spot. Thegamingjuice.com just launched that website. That's where you can find the bracket big board, all his betting advice, all is up there. Brad, what can people find at the Gaming Juice?
Yeah, the gamingjuice.com, it's free. So go sign up for a membership today. It won't cost you a single dime. I'm hosting some chats there. We're going to have a couple more upcoming around the NCAA Tournament and the conference tournament season. So if you want to pick my brain, whether it's about Illinois basketball, over or under on their seed line, what is the fearless forecast for the ILL to march on the NCAA Tournament or the Big Ten Tournament or any other team, come to the Gaming Juice. It's all about interactivity. It's all about experiences, and it's all about accessibility. I'm not, thankfully going to be the only voice. My buddy Nate Lundy is going to be tossing out some hockey betting content. I got a couple other guys behind the scenes at Live and Line up at Stadium Sports in Chicago, also going to write some hockey pieces. So if you like, dropping the puck and trying to make some bucks, come to the gamingjuice.com where the written word is not dead. It is alive and well. So as everybody else, it seems like in the marketplace is laying off writers, I have found my niche. And again, I am back at doing what I love, and that is writing the written word and doing it often in bombastic and ridiculous form. So there may be a joke or two embedded in every single betting piece or bracketology piece I'm cranking out there at thegamingjuice.com.
You got a personality there, Brad. So it's
right.
It's a new era, though, Brad. We bring you on. We used to discuss, can Illinois make the tournament? What do they have to do to even get on the bubble? But now we're talking about how high can their seeding go. So if the tournament started today, Illinois at 21-7, 12-5 in the Big Ten, 4-5 in quad one games, what do you make of their resume?
Yeah, so looking at the surface and all the nitty gritty, that's really important. And every single member of the selection committee room is going to see as those team sheets are coming across and sliding on their laptops. I think Illinois is a true blue number 4 seed, and I have them right now as the second lowest number 4 seed. So checking the bracket big board, who would be the highest or second highest number 13 seed, who they would match up with in round 1? Well, I've got SoCon rep Sanford as that specific team. So, obviously there's a lot of moving and shaking. Conference tournaments got to get underway, and teams got to punch their auto bids. But Illinois could obviously bolster the resume as well and jump up a line or maybe even 2. 1 seed, it ain't going to happen. So get that out of your head. That is an absolute pipe dream, Illini Nation. It's not going to occur even if Illinois wins out. But, a number 2 seed is still fathomable. I think a number 3 seed, very achievable as well. You look at the 4-5 quadrant 1 record, that needs some work there, but there are some additional opportunities here down the stretch. In fact, 3 quadrant 1 opportunities at Wisconsin, Purdue, and of course, finishing with the Iowa Hawkeyes, who've come on strong here down the stretch, really bolster their overall net resume. And then you look at the fact that Illinois has no longer a bad loss on the resume because Maryland's done enough to not qualify as that Q3. Of course, they suffered, the ILL did, inside State Farm Center, a few weeks ago. So Illinois very healthy right now, very robust, I would say, in terms of their overall profile. But as of now, as of today, a strong number 4 seed. But of course, sky's the limit. just not a limit of a number one seed in the end.
Well, Brad, you kind of mentioned the range of outcomes from a 2, potentially. You can discuss where the lowest they could possibly be if they lost out the last 4 games, but 3 quad 1 opportunities left in the Big Ten slate and the Big Ten tournament. And I kind of look at this schedule, and they've won 9 of 12. The 3 losses are all in like heartbreaking fashion. Northwestern in overtime, Penn State, obviously that collapse, and Michigan State with that collapse late. So how much can they improve their resume, or how much can they fall here on seed lines?
Yeah, again, I think the ceiling for Illinois is a number 2 seed in a perfect world scenario where they break out the brooms and they sweep. So they get those 3 key quarter 1 victories at Wisconsin, Purdue, and at Iowa. And then really all they got to do is make the Big Ten tournament final, because I always subscribe to belief that once that final is set, it weighs nothing in the selection committee room. They've already made their decisions where teams are going to land on the bracket line. So it may just have a slight sway in the geographic region a team may land. They may, give that, upside to the team that actually, punches the ticket with the auto berth there of the Big Ten tournament. And those that earn the silver medal may go elsewhere. But outside of that, I really don't think it really influences what the committee is looking at seed-wise. Now, the downside for Illinois, looking, the antithesis, if they lost out, so they lost against the Badgers, they lost against the Boilers, they get the L against the hated Hawkeyes, and they get ousted in the opening round of the Big Ten tournament, at least in their, matchup in their round. I think you would see Illinois probably bottom out at like a low end 6, maybe even a high end 7. So not really ideal, but as you know, it depends entirely on draw. What does the path look like? Are we going to have another scenario where Illinois is a top seeded? Oh, look, it's Loyola Chicago. Oh, that's the worst possible second round opponent you could face. And it was. And we all are still haunted by that nightmare that occurred a few years ago with that Iowa and Kofi team. So again, it's all about path. Don't really be married completely to the seed that is next to the team name. Look at the road to Glendale. That to me is bar none the most important.
So Brad, what do you make of the profile of this team, which is elite offense, number 1 during the last month, number 1 since I believe December 20th for this team. But defensively the last month, 264 in the country. They fell to 94th, I believe, after last night, allowing 97 points to Minnesota. Do we have any history of what these teams kind of do in the tournament? What do you make of this profile?
Yeah, it's rare that a team of this kind of profile makes a very deep run the tournament. It's not unfounded. It's not like it's ever happened before that a team with that kind of defensive standing can't make the Final Four. We've seen it happen a couple of times here in the recent years, the last 10 to 20 years. We've had a couple of teams ranked outside the top 75 in adjusted defensive efficiency on the season and blaze a trail to the Final Four. So Illinois could get, piping hot, stinking hot over a 6-game stretch. We know they're entirely capable. You mentioned it. I'll give you the data again for the audience out there. And I pulled this from Bart Torvik. Over the last 7 games, so since February 1st, Illinois, you mentioned it, it goes even deeper than that as far back it goes. Number 1 in offensive efficiency, they're netting an absurd 1.336 points per possession. I mean, we saw last night, it was north of 1.60 against Minnesota. And Minnesota was off the charts offensively. They had one of their highest, and not the highest, points per possession mark in the Ken Palm era for that respected school. And, as a result, Illinois now number 269 in adjusted defensive efficiency over the last 7 days, according to Torvik, giving up 1.106 points per possession. That's uncomfortable. That's unsightly. Number 294 gets worse in effective field goal percentage defense. So can they go out and outscore their opponents? Hell yeah, they can. They are entirely capable of doing that. And as I've said before, this is the best constructed team that Brad Underwood has ever had in his tenure to win multiple tournament games. Because of Coleman Hawkins, he could play every single position on the floor. He is a matchup nightmare. Marcus the Mass and that booty ball and that fadeaway like old man game that he has, sky high basketball IQ. They're hitting threes with regularity. Terrence Shannon is back at that All-American level. I mean, they have the offensive goods to beat anybody in the nation. I just am concerned if they have a mediocre or a cool shooting day or night, they're going to get ousted because they're frankly not D'ing up.
So why would you think this team over 21 has a better chance to win multiple games?
Well, I think this team over the 21 squad is I like the matchup problems that they present across the board. Yeah. And, that 21 team, not to really discount what they did, obviously they have matchup problems in their own right. But you have so much versatility, so much flexibility on this roster, and it really begins and ends with Coleman Hawkins.
Yeah.
A guy at 6'10" who is listed as, I guess, a 5, but he can play a little point. He could step out and act like a shooting guard. He could play some of the wing positions, the power forward position. Quincy Guerrier is a guy that can beat you inside and outside, ultra versatile. Damask has found his range again. And again, that back down ability, whether calling his own number or when the double teams come, he could find the open man for an easy kiss off the glass. They just have so many weapons that can play a variety of positions that they're hard to scout. They're hard to game plan. They're hard schematically to prepare for. So I think this Illinois team, because of that depth of versatility and well-roundedness and beat you in variable ways, they're going to be an extraordinarily tough out in the NCAA tournament.
So, Brad, you mentioned it's all about matchup. We know that after watching the last several years under Brad Underwood, just hasn't gotten a favor there. So if you're an Illinois fan, you're watching on Selection Sunday. I know we're a long way off, but if you're a 4 or 5 seed or 3 seed or 6 seed or whatever it is, are there certain matchups you'd welcome, whether it's first or second round, or certain ones that would kind of make you shiver?
Yeah, I think the one matchup that I would fear if I'm an Illinois fan, based on, team style, is somebody that can really hold you in the half court and just play a little rock'em, sock'em robots and pow, 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 bludgeon you in the mouth by slowing down the tempo and ratcheting up the defense and really clamping down. A team that can slow down Illinois could frustrate them because the Illini are at their best and kind of that flying Illini 89 style that they've emulated at times this year. When they get up and down the floor, they're flying in transition, whether it's Shannon just brutalizing people downhill and getting those kisses off the glass in the end ones, or maybe a little kick out game when he is double teamed and he's got a man open on the wing, whether it's a Goody, whether it's Justin Harmon or Coleman Hawkins, and they can bury that coffin corner 3. That's where Illinois is really revving its engine. That's where Illinois is at its best. So, a team that lives in the half court, a team like Iowa State, probably going to be on the 2-3 line. You don't want to see in Illinois' half of the region. I'll say that much right now. Even a team like Dayton is another one that plays a very slow, calculated, methodical style of play. They're like 330 in just a tempo in the season. Outstanding defensively. They may not have played the caliber of opponents that Illinois has in terms of their overall strength of schedule, but, they've not faced a number of pushovers either. The 3 and 4 and quadrant ones. That's a team that could ultimately frustrate Illinois. Washington State is another one that immediately comes to mind. And, man, they've been blazing hot here down the home stretch. And a team that Arizona saw recently in their own house that was slowed down to a certain extent. And as a result, they were taken out by the Cougs. So those are just some examples, some teams that are out there that Illinois would not match up well against. But the likes of, say, Kentucky, Auburn, BYU, some of those teams, Illinois, if they're in the region, maybe in a 4 or 5 matchup, it might be like a first of 115 scenario in that case. And I would certainly belly up the bar and watch that game. And I think all of America would love that. And gamblers too would say over and over again, because the points would be plentiful.
Well, Brad, zooming out here on the Big Ten, not a lot of strength at the top of the Big Ten. Now there's a lot of, no games really easy outside of maybe Michigan right now in the Big Ten, but only 2 top 5 seeds. Wisconsin's fallen. You have them on the 6th line right now. How many bids for this league? Is Michigan State in trouble? Any chance for Iowa to be on the bubble here? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of drama for the Big Ten coming down the stretch.
Yeah, and I know Mike DeCourcy, and maybe it's just more for television. You know, the announcers are saying, "Oh, the Iowa Hawkeyes, they're the next four out. They're right there on the bubble." They're really not. Like they have some opportunities down the stretch, including against the Orange and Blue. Obviously, to bolster the overall resume, perfect role for them. You know, they got to win out and probably win a couple of games in the Big Ten tournament to really force the conversation in the selection committee room on March 17th to say, hey, we've done enough to at least need to be weighed for an at-large berth. But I think the Big Ten is probably going to get 6 teams. Purdue, obviously, Illinois, obviously, Northwestern very much in, likely as an 8 or 9 seed, maybe a little bit higher. Wisconsin, though, they're skidding and sliding at the most inopportune time. Got them on the 6 seed line, as you mentioned. Nebraska, that's a team you don't want to face right now in the NCAA tournament at all because they're playing extraordinary defense with the top defensive teams in the nation. And whether you're looking at Kempom, Bartorvik, Haslametrics, shot quality, it doesn't matter what geeky numbers that you're crunching. They have been dynamite and elite, shutting people down. And I'm all about Tominaga time. That guy is a ton of fun to watch. And when he catches fire, look out. They can really bring the noise offensively. Michigan State is still in. I know my buddies at the Field of 68 brought it up the other day. Oh, is Michigan State on the bubble? No, they're not on the bubble. The Spartans, have you seen the bubble? There are a lot of sickly and unsightly teams with all kinds of warts and ills on that resume. The Sparty party is still, tapping the keg and still doing stands on that keg. They're going to be in probably anywhere in that 8 to 10 seed range. So ultimately, you're going to have to get a bid stealer in the Big Ten tournament in Minneapolis. And I will say this, again, I'm a gambling man. You know that, Werner. If I am wanting to clutch a longer odds ticket of a team to win the Big Ten tournament and steal that bid, it's none other than the host school and Minnesota Golden Gophers. Well, no, I had a tough time dispensing last night. When they bring their A game offensive, when we saw it, they would beat, probably 90% of the teams in the country. Illinois just had one of those out-of-body, out-of-their-mind shooting nights historically. But that team is playing elite basketball by their very low standard. Dawson Garcia is a matchup problem. Christie's draining outside shots. I know, they were hideous and disgusting in Nebraska on the road about a week ago. But if they can galvanize, they can feed off that home crowd energy. That's a team that I could see getting a bid and lifting it and, bouncing a team that is sitting squarely on the bubble.
He hasn't even had the best year compared to last year, but I'm more excited to see Tominaga in an NCAA tournament than probably any player since Andres Felice should have been in the tournament.
Yeah.
So, Brad, just give me a few guys, a few teams you're most excited to see in the tournament besides your Illini, of course.
Yeah, and look, Tennessee is a team right now, and let's tie it all back to the betting markets because I know there are probably a lot of listeners on Illini Inquirer that are saying, "Hey, I like to roll the dice. I like to have a little some of that betting action." I think the Tennessee Volunteers very much in the number 1 seed conversation right now. And I grabbed them earlier this week at plus 230. Yeah, get seduced by that juice. If you're able to find that line, all the books at tape time for this pod, they've already pulled the number 1 seed odds down, but they're bound to resurface here in the next 24 hours or so. And I'm really curious to see what that number is down to after that mammoth win that they logged, last night. And a team that is shaping up, even though they're, just 5-5 in quarter 1 opportunities, getting another one last night against Auburn. They've got an incredible murderer's row upcoming. Next 3 at Alabama, at South Carolina, and Kentucky. Quarter one. Yeah. So let's say they sweep those and they win, 2 or 3 games in the SEC tournament or make the final, and Arizona stubs its toe, you're looking at Tennessee leapfrogging North Carolina, leapfrogging the Wildcats, and find themselves in as that last number 1 seed. And with Dalton Connect playing at such an extraordinary, outstanding, just scintillating level, it's hard to fade that team because of D up. Illinois fans know this, and with our trip that didn't end so well there in Knoxville, they can play a variety of paces. They really clamp down. And they just get buckets and connected every time it leaves his hand. I think it's going through the cylinder. So long story short, Jeremy, I think I will have Tennessee hoisting the hardware on a couple of my brackets this year. They have all the goods to beat a UConn, beat a Purdue, match up against a Houston in a neutral court environment.
Yeah, and they got veterans, Brad, they got size, and they got one special player. I was really impressed when I saw them in person. Two last things before I let you go, Brad. What do you make of the discussion of the Big 12 kind of gaming the net with their terrible non-conference schedule? Illinois kind of did this too. They really helped themselves with some 300 level opponents and just blowing them out with their net rankings too.
Yeah, look, you can game the net, game the system. And I think coaches are going to start doing this more often as a result to try to get some of those lopsided victories to balloon their overall profiles. But we got to, take all that with a grain of salt because the committee members and the committee chairs have told us the last couple of years, and that, remember, replace the RPI. And the goal of the RPI originally was to be used as a sorting tool. Not my phrase. It was one of the committee chairs that said that like 10 years ago. And that's how they look at it. That's how they weigh that information. I think the net as an isolated form does the same thing, the same purpose. It is used as more or less a sorting tool on those team sheets as they're sliding across the laptops there in Indianapolis in the selection committee room when they're setting, vetting, and scrubbing the field. So as an independent or isolated number, it's no big deal. It really is. So, again, don't be married to that number exclusively. You got to look at the full body of work, the overall profile, the quality wins, who'd you played, who'd you beat, strength of schedule, non-conference strength of schedule. Have you won games on the road in true road environments? Because those are weighted a little bit heavier than even some of the neutral court games. So all of those play a factor. But yeah, the Big 12 certainly cooked the books, so to speak, there in non-conference play by bludgeoning the meek to make their resumes look awfully mighty.
How do you think the NCAA tournament committee's done here with this net tool with what they've had?
A pretty good job. Look, there's always like a team or two, and that's really about it that we all bitch and moan about, after Selection Sunday and the pairings and everything else come out. But for the most part, they've stuck to their philosophy, their guns in terms of what the weightiest measurements are, and they really haven't veered from that. So, in my opinion, I think they've done an outstanding job. Now, I've always said this, Werner. A lot of those people that are part of the selection committee, they're like ADs or conference chairs or whatever they may be. Are they watching college basketball in November? I'm going to venture out on a very short limb and say, hell no. They're more worried about the mighty dollar tied to football, right? Especially the power leagues. So a lot of those members aren't watching basketball. They're catching up to speed over like probably 3, 4, 5 week period. I would love for the selection committee to open up the doors to people that actually cover the game. Maybe a Joe Lenardi, a Jerry Palm, an idiot Brad Evans in the room that's trying to break down everything from a bracketology perspective and let them have a voice in the room as well. So it's a nice ambassadorship, if you will, of people that truly love and represent college basketball, trying to figure out who should be in and who should be out of the field.
Last one for you, Brad. Every time this time of year, the talk becomes, does the NCAA tournament expand? Charlie Baker, the new president of the NCAA, said he'd be open to it if it's done with care. So this is your baby. What do you make of potential expansion?
Yeah, look, I love the child that we have reared in its current form. I'm a big fan of the first four and those playing games with those 4 teams. They're at the high major level and the 4 teams at the low major level. I don't want to alter. I don't want to disrupt anything. It's fine just the way it is. There are a lot of craptastic teams already on the back end of the field and, sitting with both cheeks firmly planted on the bubble. You want to expand that? Why? Oh, that's right. Because you're all about the money grab. It's all about the almighty dollar. Look, I understand, maybe the upside of that financially, but the downside is it's got to water down the greatest sports event on the calendar every single damn year. Don't give me it's a Super Bowl. Come on, Evans. I want more Travis Kelce. I want more Patrick Mahomes in my life. I need more, T Swift as well. Get out of here with that stuff. That's one game. it's a spectacle. Sure, I know. I cover Super Bowls. I've covered 8 of them, and I'm on Radio Row every single year. And I love the NFL like a child. But my favorite son, bar none, is the NCAA tournament. And right now, I think it's fully baked in its best form. Expanding to 96 teams, for example, would be an absolute death knell to something we love and enjoy.
Because I don't think any fans are asking for it, Brad. Like,
no,
fans were asking for a college football playoff, right? We've been asking for a college football playoff. I understand why coaches want it. I understand why maybe administrators want it, but the fans don't want it.
No, they don't. But I will say this, I'm poo-pooing the idea in my head, but the gambler in me is like, yeah, more action to bet on.
No product,
I don't have to just bet on the CBI, the NIT, which I do. I can bet on like 96 teams in a singular event over like 4 or 5 weeks. Oh yeah, take all my money, BetMGM. I'm in.
There you go. Brad Evans, thegamingjuice.com. Go check out his bracket big board there and all the gaming content there. Brad, appreciate you. We'll have to catch you up after Selection Sunday, man.
Muchas gracias. I'm looking forward to that. Añejo, mi amigo.